Welcome to Henry Kids Radio, a podcast by Henry Ford Health, designed to educate, elevate, and inspire. Join our host, Dr. Uzma Shah, as she engages in captivating conversations with remarkable individuals. Through these conversations, we aim to empower our young listeners while providing insights for parents and caregivers on how to support their children's growth and development.
Hello and welcome to Henry Kids Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Uzma Shah. I am the chair of the Department of Pediatrics at Henry Ford Health. Today we are honored to introduce our most esteemed guest, Michelle Johnson Tidjani, Esquire, the Executive Vice President and General Counsel of Henry Ford Health. With extensive experience from her time at the Cleveland Clinic and Tenant Healthcare, Ms. Tidjani is also actively involved in her community, serving on numerous boards and volunteering as a mentor. Join us as she shares her insights, experiences, and the inspirational women in history who have made an impact on her life. So, Michelle, you may not know this, but the very first time that I met you, I came away with some convictions that I had met someone who had tremendous wisdom, strength, a powerful yet gentle soul, and an understanding on what life was truly about, the things that mattered, and those that were simply there to help one learn. And it was then that I was also determined to request you as a guest on this podcast. And so here we are. I am so eager to hear your views, and I'm grateful for this time and opportunity. I was hoping to ask you about a few very important things, if I may.
You may. Well, first of all, can I just say thank you for the kind words, Uzma. It was a pleasure meeting you and having an opportunity to engage in the kind of exchange that we did. I remember it was very simple. Just an opportunity first on the interview front, but then just to connect. Breaking bread is really just, in my mind, sort of next level of engagement. It's a much more intimate experience. And so know that I appreciated that time with you as much as you've shared that you appreciated it with me. It was really a gift.
Thank you. Truly a gift. And you know, this is why we're doing this actually, because we want to make sure that we're able to share these blessings with other people who are listening. So I wanted to start by asking, you are an inspirational woman. And I know that, you have probably felt that there were women or a woman in history who has made an impact in your life. Can you share who that may be?
It's interesting. There have been so many powerful women throughout the course of my life who've influenced parts of my life, parts of my career, parts of my thought process around growing and being intentional about what I wanted, what I didn't want in life. But I'd have to tell you, as I reflect in this moment, the single most inspirational woman who's probably a very I would characterize her as an unsung sort of hero is my mother. And I was thinking about this as I was driving in this morning. I probably don't spend enough time talking about my mother, but my mother has given me a number of gifts and really, by way of sort of blessings to me. And one of the things that I think is so interesting about her, and I don't know if, at that time, 49 years ago, she was really thinking, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But the thing that I got from my mother was a belief that I could fly. In fact, I actually thought, I was just sharing this with someone this morning, when I was a child, I actually thought that I could fly. So probably from about 6 to 9, so I took swimming lessons for years. In the summers, I would always be in these swimming classes that my mom would insist that I take. I don't know why swimming, I can't explain it. But I was a pretty good swimmer, but I had to take swimming classes, stroke to stroke every summer. And so something about the experience of the sort of freedom that you have when you're in the water to do just about anything. You're so buoyant, you can move, you can do anything. And I think somehow that experience, coupled with my mother's staunch encouragement, there's something about the physical experience of swimming coupled with the messaging of you can do anything, don't let anybody tell you what you can. I mean, it was just constant, almost to the point where I would think, Mom, come on, well, you don't need to tell me that. But I actually believed between about 6 and 9 that I could fly. And fortunately for my health and the health of others, I never actually tried it, but I felt like I was flying in water. And I felt like early in my academic career, I had the opportunity to really sort of spread my wings, right, and fly in different places and spaces. But I got that from my mom.
That is so incredible. And I have to tell you, that is very similar to what I experienced with my mom, right? And I think moms have a great ability to recognize what their children are able to do, right? And so blessed are we that these moms would then tell us that, right? And share with us that. And those are things which live with you forever. Yeah. And I love that concept of being able to fly, right? And I think very often, young women or young people don't come away with that confidence that anything is possible, right? And anything is possible. So, Michelle, when I was a kid, I remember there was a time, and I think I was like 7 or 8, and we were at a party, and we were 3 sisters. And, one of the people over there said, oh, she's going to be like a Golda Meyer, right? And I actually didn't know who Golda Meyer was, right? And so I went to the library. There used to be an Encyclopedia Britannica, and I looked it up, right? And at that time, I actually wanted to be like Cleopatra and not really like, Golda Meir. But then now that I look back and I think about women who in history have made a mark such that others look at them as having done tremendously significant things. Were there any Golda Meyers in your life? And who did you think were, those who made an impact of that nature?
Yeah. So, I think there are probably lots of women at different points in time and for different reasons. So early in my career, I wanted to be a politician. And so Shirley Chisholm was incredibly inspiring to me. I read about her and heard about her and listened to her speak and read her work. And I thought, my gosh, she has a voice. She is desiring to make a difference. She's clear. She's unapologetic for who she is and why she is. And so I've always found her inspiring. And I would say just a very contemporary person. I really like Michelle Obama. Feels a little cliche to say that, but, I remember the first time I heard her speak with Larry King. And so this was her husband had decided to run, and they were doing, her husband, former President Obama, decided to run for office. But he's so secondary compared to her, because I do believe there is no question that she is a tremendous force in that relationship. And so she was just being asked a series of questions by Larry King, and just her certainty about things, her confidence, her steadfastness. She was just unflappable with the questions, because I, like so many women across the country, and certainly young Black women looking at this woman project and share in the way that she did. I mean, I thought, my goodness, where has she come from, and how can I be more like that, right? And so she is certainly inspirational every time I see her speak, sort of standing in all that she is, and unapologetically authentic, right? And fearless about how to say or when to say. I'm sure she's very thoughtful about it, but I just think there's an element of fearlessness with her in terms of, sharing her voice on issues that matter, and in particular, matter for the world, but in particular for women and girls. And so I find her incredibly inspiring as well.
Oh, I do as well. I completely agree. I do as well. Michelle, I was just wondering, when we think about young people, we think about young people who, right from the start are very vocal, right? And they know exactly what they want. And they can see that they are going to go from point A to point B to point C. But they also are unsure about how they are going to get to those steps, right? And young women, young girls and young boys alike, right? And so in your life experience, if you were to speak to them, what would your advice be? What have you learned in your journey? And I say this for those people young children who are very vocal, but then they're the silent ones, right? The quiet ones who also need to go from point A to point B. So if you look back in your life and you look back all the things that have happened, I mean, you are so well experienced and you are so well educated and you are so successful. And, with that comes a responsibility, right? And the responsibility of ensuring that those who live in your domain and those who live outside of your domain are also the recipients of that blessing that you have. Sure. So what would you advise those young people who are listening today?
I'd tell them you could fly.
I love it.
I think that it's so important for young people, particularly during some of these formative years. We work with two of my colleagues and I, so Robin Damshorter, our CFO, and Heather Geisler, our Chief Marketing Officer. We pair together and we're mentors over at Northwestern High School, right down the street on East Grand Boulevard. And in that setting, we have a group of 25 to 30 young women between 9th grade and 12th grade. And one of the things that I love about that age group is at that point in your life, in the 9th grade, in the 10th grade, no matter what you've done, no matter what happened beforehand, no matter who your parents are, no matter where you can do anything. As an 11th grader, whatever you want to do for the rest of your life, you may not have had the best pass, you may not have had the great, you can still do anything. Because shortly, none of this is really going to matter, right? You will finish high school. It's important for you to stay focused, finish high school, go on to university, but the world is really your oyster. But the key is you got to believe. So often, I think young people are surrounded by stereotypes of the X or Y thing that you can be. You could be a social media star, which you could. You can be an athlete. You can be a musician. All of those things are lovely and wonderful, but you can also be a physician. You can be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. You can be a television personality. You can be anything, but you got to believe. And foundational to that belief is really opening up your world to the possibilities of flight. And I think there's so many messages, and I don't want to point the finger at social media, but I have an 18-year-old and I have a 15-year-old, and I understand how powerful that medium can be about what you can't do, right? You see images of what you think to be perfection, and so you're always striving to do this, that, and the other, rather than stepping back and thinking for a moment about what I want. And what does success look like for me? And really being willing to take the cuffs off of what your mom might have said, your dad might have said, or some other influence in your life who said you couldn't do it. Just take that out of your mind and believe in making whatever you believe to be possible, or changing the narrative around really what is impossible, right? And so I think that, sort of creating a framework and a space for kids to believe is everything. And so as a young person, hearing those messages and being thoughtful about filtering out the noise is really, really important. So I've always said, I say to my kids, garbage in, garbage out, right? Not everybody deserves a space at your table. Not everybody does. There are lots of wonderful people in the world, but not everybody deserves a space at your table, right? Because time is precious, right? And you want to be certain that you're surrounding yourself with people that make you better. Right? And so for the 9th grade girls that we partner with, it's about having those influences and creating a space for what's possible in these young people's lives, because there is nothing that is off the table. In high school, absolutely you can do anything. After high school, absolutely you can do anything, but it starts with a belief, and it's really that belief that you can fly.
Absolutely. And, and I think if you have that belief, you're so right, Michelle, it's sort of, that's the trajectory that you need, sure. Right? And then it propels you in the right direction. Sure. But I'm hoping that, people also understand that it's okay to ask for help.
Oh.
And never feel like, oh my God, I don't want to ask. No, you can, And so first, having the faith in yourself that you can do something, but then to make sure that you can ask for help and ask
Absolutely.
for guidance, right?
Absolutely. And people are, I would just say, I've never had someone say, I'm not going to take your call simply because I want some advice, from a very young person, when actually people absolutely do it, to an adult. As an adult, as a professional, there are times where I seek the advice and counsel of the folks that I refer to as my board of directors, right? These are folks, many of whom are external, some are within the organization, many of whom are external to the organization, where I've got an idea, I've got a thought, I want to bounce something off of you. You never get to a place where we don't need help. There's no one who doesn't need help on something sometime, or really just some thought partnership. And so that is a journey, right? Being able to ask for help as a young person, being able to ask for help as a starting career professional, and throughout the course of your life, most people are willing to make a space for that kind of engagement. So recently, Sunday, I had a great call with a mentor of mine.
Yeah, fantastic. And even till today, yes, I think about all the people who've helped me, because without them, I would not be doing the things that I'm doing today. Sure. So very, very blessed to have that. We could talk forever, but I am hoping that we can talk about maybe a poem that really made a difference to you in life, and something that you would like to share with us.
I'm so glad you asked me about this, because I've always been a fan of Maya Angelou. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. And there's a piece that she wrote. Many of your listeners have likely heard. I'm sure you've heard before the piece "Phenomenal Woman," and I love it. I was on a talent show years ago in college, and I had the opportunity to sort of act out this piece with a friend of mine. But I love this piece because it grounds me every day in this notion that I am enough. I am enough, right? So let me just share a piece from it. It says, "Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. Men themselves have wondered just what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breast, the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels. And the rest of the piece goes on. This is a wonderful piece for me because I think that it gets to, it's okay to be you. Right? So there is this image of beauty, of success, of power, of whatever those things are. All of those things are within all of us, right? It's not because of a particular look. It's not because of it. It's none of those things. It's inside of you. And so I love that piece. I could read it over and over and over and over again. I didn't finish it just in the interest of time, but it's a tremendous piece and has always been an inspiration for me.
Michelle Tidjani, I see the fire in your eyes. Michelle Tidjani, You are a phenomenal woman. You are an inspiration. And I think we are all proud of Michelle Tidjani. And I think anyone who's going to listen to this is going to be even prouder. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. This has been a most incredible experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I stand on the shoulders of so many great women who've come before us, and it's really the only reason I have the opportunity to be here with you today. So thank you.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Henry Kids Radio, a production of Henry Ford Health. Please note, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and guests. They do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Henry Ford Health. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Audio production and sound engineering by David Buchanan and Nathan Scott. Associate producer, Jennifer Day. Executive producer, Dr. Uzma Shah.